Okay, hi everyone, good evening. I believe that we are live now in Doctorate Support Group. Thank you so much for those who are joining us wherever you are. And today it's actually a very interesting day for us, for the team in Doctorate Support Group, because we're having an interesting guest all the way. Dr. Suresh, how are you, Dr. Suresh?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, and thanks a lot
Okay,
for having me.
sure. And it is actually you won't believe me, it is actually one of my bucket lists, one of my lists, one of my lists to have you on my webinar, because I've been looking at
Okay.
Rex for quite some time, and I
Okay.
think
Okay.
it's time that we introduce Rex to the group. Yeah, so we're going to have maybe 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes of webinar, and
Mhm.
I'm going to start by maybe asking you, what is actually the story of Rex? Yeah, so go ahead.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
so it all started from when I was doing my PhD in the
Mm,
United States. I did my PhD from University of Missouri, Kansas City, and
mhm,
when I was a PhD student, I was facing a lot of problem while doing literature analysis, literature comprehension, literature review,
mm,
and it took me so much of time because there's so much of paper that we have to read,
mm,
and it was so difficult to wade through those papers
mm,
while getting the key insights and at the same time comprehensively reading it through. So then I realized that something must be done about it.
yeah.
And when I came back to India, I was also advising PhD students, my own PhD students, and I was seeing the same problem. I talked to so many of my colleagues, and it's all a culmination of all those insights that I got. So I felt that probably through design, through engineering, and through AI, maybe we can do something about it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how Rax came into being.
Right. Thank you so much. And I believe that the word RACS is actually for research assistants. Is that
Yeah,
is that yeah?
yeah,
So and
it
and
started like that. Yeah,
okay. So and I believe that once people go into the platform and try using it, so they'll understand more. Yeah. So we
right.
will have the demo later on. And I will go to the second question is, how do you think, or I think it's everyone's a problem, where let's say you want to process 100 of articles, right? So you're supposed to read 100 of articles. How can then RACS help postgraduate in when they want to do their literature, when they want to process their literature? Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, you see, it's quite true actually that much of the paper that we are actually accumulating and putting it into our to-do reading list, much of
Mm,
that actually goes unread for many of us because it's
yeah.
so much to read and it's so difficult to actually go through it. So, and also it's true that a very good paper is actually a great opportunity for research. So that's
Mm,
where the research starts. That's where your thinking process starts when you're reading a very good paper. So there is a particular process, there is a particular research methodology through which you can act through what you should be following, and if you follow that thing, you can actually go through it very very quickly. And the
mm,
entire way in which Rax has been designed, the entire workflow, the coherent workflow, each and every single thing, is essentially following that guideline, is essentially
mm.
following that research methodology as to how we can help students guide through a paper very quickly and help them to get to the next paper without forgetting what they have already read or already understood, and how to.
Right. Okay. Can I say that RACS actually produce some sort of roadmap while they are doing the thinking and organizing the literature?
Right,
Is that how it
right,
works?
right,
Okay, so
right.
I can't actually wait to see, yeah, how you can demo this. And maybe I want to jump to question number 4 first before we go to demo, because I think this would
Yeah,
set the conversation. Yeah, so how
right.
do you see AI changing the landscape of education, especially higher education? Yeah, because I believe that although AI has been around for quite some time, but most of us do not understand it yet, the
Okay,
layman
yeah.
person like me. Yeah, so how do you think AI is changing this?
So first of all, I want to understand, make you understand is like it's essentially AI assisted, human interaction or higher
Mm,
education. So when we look at it that way, right? So it's not that the AI is going to do the research for you, or it's not
mm,
that the AI
mm,
is going to actually come up with new discoveries, but AI will help you to be something like the Jarvis of the Iron Man. If somebody has,
Yeah.
so that's where we are trying to head towards. Like,
Okay.
ultimately, it's Iron Man who is the hero, but
Yeah.
the Jarvis would help the Iron Man to actually fight the war.
Hmm.
So AI would be the supporting pillar for pointing to where things are more interesting, where a researcher should be digging more, or
Yeah.
what can be a better way of thinking, or which is a more interesting direction in which he or
Hmm.
she should be walking towards. So that's where I see AI to play a role. Definitely, AI is. I don't see AI to replace the researcher and take the center pole. So that's not going
Yeah.
to happen. That's not
Yeah.
what we also want to do.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of conversation are talking about, okay, now we have AI and they're going to replace human as a teacher, as a researcher. I don't believe in that. Yeah, and
No,
in
not
fact, yeah, I don't think so. I believe that we still need human brain, which is the best, the best robots of all. Yeah, if you may. So thank you for saying that, and thank you for agreeing. And I think we are able to show that this is not something that you put there and you let it. It's done. No, it's not. You still
no.
need to put, yeah, hard work into it, right? But it's just that
Yes,
you manage the process better.
yes,
Okay,
true.
thank you so much. Yeah, I agree
Mm.
with you. Right, so can we start the demo now? Because I think
Yeah,
a lot
sure,
of, yeah,
sure.
many people are curious about how do we use Rex. Okay, if you can
Right,
share your screen.
right.
Yeah.
Let me share my screen. Yeah.
Okay. And to all the audience in DSG, if you want to ask question, you can come to the comment section, and then we can then read the question for you. So I can see one comment. Right, go ahead, Suresh. I can see your
Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I can see your
yeah.
screen. It's
Oh,
very
okay.
clear.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
go
Fine.
ahead.
So, okay, so Rex, the way we want to see Rex is essentially it's like the next generation literature survey and analysis tool. And as I told you that it all started from the fact that I was having this issue. It was making me really go mad when I was a student, and I had so much to read, and as I was reading so much, I was also forgetting so much, right? And also when I was I had so much new things to encounter as well, and a lot of times my focus was deviating, and it was taking so much time and effort to actually set myself back into into the right direction. So then that's the genesis. That's where it all started. And I felt that something must be done. I mean, this cannot go on like this, and we must think about something where we can actually make literature analysis and literature comprehension and literature survey a lot faster, right? So that's where the journey began. And so this is kind of like the current status quo. If you look at all of us, this we are going through this situation, like we have so much to read. We are it's kind of overwhelming. And if you look at the number of research papers that keep getting published every month, and the number of research papers that we keep putting into our to-do list, our folder collection, that's kind of like it always keeps piling up almost. And sometimes it can be very frustrating that we are not able to read all of it comprehensively or thoroughly enough. And the other problem is time is ticking, because as a research student, I cannot just simply prolong my PhD, or as a professor, I have my career goals, and I cannot just simply prolong a project. Also, if it is a funded project, then there are deadlines, and there are my reputation is at stake. So the time is extremely important, and it needs to be understood that if I don't get to the research opportunity very quickly, I wouldn't get to the solution also very quickly. And the
Yeah,
research opportunity starts from the literature. So,
yeah,
so essentially, that's what this is the current situation. And Grad solves it in three different ways, and I will get to it. The first one is connecting research activities all coherently in one platform. And by research activity, what we mean is that you can do literature review, of course, and read literature. And while you are doing that, you can do more resource exploration. And while you are doing that, you can come up with new ideas, and you can quickly jot them down as well. And while you are doing that, all of that you can do as a team, collaboratively as a team. So that's for the first time we have brought these key essential research activities all together in one place. And the second thing is that not just that, RAC starts looking and observing at what you are doing, like what exactly I am currently focusing on, what are the highlights, what are the notes that I am making, and then brings all this sort of different materials from outside my folder, from outside my universe, to help me enrich my literature list, to help me explore or expand my horizon of research. And the third thing is the most important thing, which I feel is it also helps me to connect what I am currently understanding and assimilating with what I have already understood and already assimilated way back or long back. And that's the interconnection of information. And that's what that's kind of like the key USP of RACs. And I'm now going to go into the actual website and show you how all of this can happen inside RACs. So, so this is for those people who are yet to find where RACs is. You go to this website called raxa.io. That's where you land up on RACs, and then you can sign up. It's a very simple sign up process. So, so after that, uh, you land into your project page, right? So this is where it all starts. This is kind of like the starting point or the genesis of any researcher. So our research starts from a research project, right? So you can have all multiple different projects that are going in parallel. Some of that can be very related to each other, some of that may not be that related to each other. Or you can have you can create a new research project. You can start with a new research project, like you can click on the create project and you can give some project description and create a project that could and then you can either work on this project in solo, or you can also invite a team or your collaborators and then work on this project as well, right? So that's how it is. Now once we enter a particular project, what you would see is that you enter into this the starting point of where you have to add your papers which you would want to read, which you have to read. Or so you can either start with those papers which kind of like a reading list that you already have in your computer, or you can add PDF URLs, or you can import the reference file from other reference managers that you might be using. Example would be EndNote, or you can also import from Google Drive, right? So once you import all your papers, that's where the literature analysis and the literature comprehension process would start, right? So since I'm already working on RACs for my own research, so I will go to a project that I am currently working on, and you can actually see all my projects over here. So you can click over here and you can navigate to the projects. So I'm going to go into this research paper summarization project, and so this is one thing that we are currently working on. And so as you can see, I entered this project, and now I have all these papers. Some of them I'm currently reading, some of them I've already read before, some of them are all still in my to-do list, right? So that's how it is structured. And while I'm reading papers, I might come up with new ideas. I might come up with these drafts, which I will show a little later. And then and then RACS keeps on monitoring me in terms of what exactly I am doing currently, what kind of paper I'm currently reading, where exactly in the paper I'm currently focusing on, what kind of drafts I'm currently building, and so on. And based on that, RACS is going to give me some suggestions. I can ask RACS like, hey, suggest me some more papers which are related to what I'm currently thinking, what I'm currently focusing on, right? And then there's another thing called repository. I'm going to talk about it, where you keep collecting all your codes and your PPTs and your maybe other kind of documents that are not really that are not really drafts or working notes, or that's not really literature, right? So so yeah, so let's
Sorry,
yeah,
Suresh. Sorry, can I interject you for a while?
yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So when we start our free trial, are we actually using the full features of the premium version, or is just some limited?
Full
Uh,
pages, yeah, complete,
it's full
yeah,
features.
premium.
Yeah. Okay. And then
We
how
are
many people
full
am
pages,
I
all the pages.
able? How many people am I able to work with? For example, if I want to create a team, yeah, is there a limitation, like maybe my supervisor, my two
Yeah.
colleagues? How many? Yeah.
So
So
so in the premium version, you can work with 10 collaborators.
okay, good.
Now, as a student, if you need more, you can just send us an email and we will see what we can do.
Okay.
And so for pro version, you can work with 5 people and 5 collaborators, and then there's
Okay.
a single solo version, which is just only for yourself.
Right. Okay. I think that's useful to know. Yeah. Because I bet many
Right.
people are thinking, wow, this is one platform that we can use. Because in many
Right.
situations, I
So
believe students are working away from their supervisors. So imagine if they can do this together, right?
right,
Online, on rack. So I'm seeing that. All right. Okay. Go ahead.
right.
Mm.
So yeah, so everything that you do inside Rack, so everything that I will show you today, you can do it as a team. So okay, so let's say that this is the paper I'm currently reading. Okay, so this is one paper about summarization. It uses some kind of neural network technique. And imagine that I'm reading this paper right now, and I'm focusing on this paper. So I'm going through this paper, I'm complete the first page, I'm going to the second page. And let's say in the second page, what suddenly happens is that I I'm stuck with a particular concept. And let's say I have either forgotten about that concept. And it happens to me all the time, that I've forgotten about the concept, or I want to have a recap of the concept, or I want to revisit the concept, or maybe the concept is very new to me. I have never seen this concept, and I want to quickly understand what this concept is. So what I can do is that I can click on uh, this particular concept, and then I can, on my right hand side, I have all this exploration materials. So you have research papers, you have wiki articles, you have online lectures, and also recordings of tier 1 conferences, workshops, and seminars. And you have professional, high quality, top quality magazine articles. So what I can do is, let's say that I want to just quickly look up some Wikipedia article. So what I can do is I could actually see that, oh wow, this is one Wikipedia article that would explain this particular concept, and this is another Wikipedia article that's going to explain this concept. This is another article. So what I would do is, if I find, let's say, that the first two Wikipedia articles are really interesting and would help me to understand this concept very quickly, I would just attach it. So as you can see, and something very interesting happens. These two articles got attached as a inline pin, as an inline attachment with this section of the paper, which means if I click on this pin, I will quickly get to those two articles if I come back to this paper and I have to refer to these articles. This is a very good way of organizing all the other materials that you are exploring, and keeping them in the context of what you're currently focusing on. So this is how, and this is where the seamless workflow that I was talking about is taking place. Like, you are reading, you're focusing on this paper. You might also want to highlight and take notes on this, just like any other PDF thing. But at the same time, what you can do is, when you're stuck somewhere, you can select that section and you can go to certain particular kind of Wikipedia article. Or if you want, like, hey, I want to just watch a video, lecture on this subject. So you can actually go and watch some video lectures on this subject as well, on this particular topic, just to make sure that you know, if you want to, like, let's say that this is abstractive summarization, and I want to watch some videos on abstractive summarization, so I can actually watch this, you know, and I can attach it. And
Uh, sorry, Suresh, if I get this right. So you
particular
are saying
section of the paper,
all,
right?
yeah, sorry, all those curated materials are prepared by Rex, right? Or do I have to do something to it? Do I
Right,
produce?
right. So, so Rax, what it does is that it automatically updates the entire Wikipedia. Okay, so for Wikipedia, for online lectures, we have more than 900 sources, hand-picked, curated sources, and every 4 hours, Rax keeps bringing new and new content
Okay, okay.
automatically, right?
No wonder.
And
Okay.
so that is it. But something else can also happen. Imagine that I'm reading now this paper, and I'm in this particular section of the paper, and I want to explore more research papers which are related only to this section of the paper. I want to explore more papers which are related only to this section which I have just selected, not the entire paper, but only this section. And this happens a lot with me, and I know this happens a lot with all of us when we are reading papers. We want to know more about specific aspects of the paper. So what we can do is that we can again select this entire paragraph or entire section, and then we can click on research papers over here. And then what happens is that we will get to see all those papers that are related with this section of the, yeah, so we'll get to see all those papers that are related with this particular section of the paper. And again, what we can do is we can attach these papers with this section, what all those papers that we think is important for us. And at the same time, if we think that some of these papers we want to read further and read in details, then we can not just attach, but we can also add it to our literature list. So once we add it to our literature list, what will happen is on your on your left hand side, you have this panel of your literature list, and these two papers got attached, got added into your literature list, right? So, and then you can click on, you can add your PDF link to these papers, and you can continue reading them later on. So something that is very interesting that is happening is that you are exploring paper, but not just exploring more papers, but you are bringing them in the context of what you are currently focusing on. And you don't forget that context, because when you come back to the paper, you can again click on this section, and you can get those papers which you which you actually found, or which you actually want to read, right? So that's an amazing kind of a feature that we have for RAG. So, and again, that's another way of how we are integrating reading and analysis with exploration all in one, in a seamless way, in a coherent workflow, sort of, right? So that's another thing. Sometimes what may also happen is that, a lot of times I want to understand more about a particular section, but maybe I don't have the time to read a full paper. And it happens with us a lot, that I don't have the time to read a full paper, but I want to quickly read about that particular section, more thoroughly. So I could actually select that particular section, and I can go to light reads. And then what will happen is I will get a lot of blogs and top-notch, research lab magazines and other kind of magazines like Scientific American and Nature and all, articles which are easy to read, which are relatively quicker to understand, but at the same time I can get that, I can attach them as well. Because a lot of times, as I'm saying, that sometimes it happens, you don't really have time to read yet another dense paper, but you want to quickly go through that thing and then come back into your paper which you're currently reading. So that's another way of doing literature comprehension. Now comes the interesting thing, and one more thing that before I forget is that, some basic things like when you upload a paper, Rax will automatically extract the papers that has been cited by this paper which I'm currently reading, And if you think that some of these papers you really want to read in more depth, then you can add it to your literature list, and it gets added onto your literature list, right, for future reading. So it just extracts it from your reference, from the reference list of this paper, and you can add it to your future list, right? So now something, I want to show you something very cool, very interesting. Now imagine you are reading this, I'm reading this paper, I'm this particular section of the paper, right? This section. And suddenly, while reading this particular paragraph, I feel like, hey, I have read something very similar before. I've read a paper maybe 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and I've read something very similar, but I'm forgetting which paper did I read? Where did I see this? So kind of like a deja vu moment where you are
Yeah.
having this sort of thing. Or it might also happen that, hey, I want to quickly compare the argument or the technique that has been given in this paragraph with what I've already read before in my universe, in my project. And not just in this project, but in all the other projects that I am working and I've already worked. So what I can do is I can select this section over here, and then there's a very interesting feature that we came up with, and this was something that was bothering me so much that I actually felt like what to do, and that's how I actually came up with this feature. So it's called related content. So you can click on this related content, and then what happens is, what Rax does is that Rax does something amazing. It brings out all those papers, not just the paper, but that particular section of the paper that actually relates to the narrative of this section, right? And if you think that this is a paper that you really want to compare, these two sections are the sections that you want to compare, you can pin them. So you can pin these two sections, and then you can put some remarks, like let's say that I put like, okay, so the similarity is this, the dissimilarity is this, and these are the things to be explored. And I put some remark over there, and that's it. It get added. I can put more such sections over here. And something very interesting that can happen is not just papers from this, from this project, but if there are other papers in other projects which are related to this particular section, those sections are also going to come up. So essentially, in some sense, what's happening, that I really don't have to remember anything, actually. If I feel that this is something that I've seen before, or I just want to figure out whether there are related things, I just select this particular section, I use related content, I get all the other sections that are in my entire universe, and I bring all those sections together and I can stitch them together. And later on, I can click on these pins and I can get back to those papers together with my notes, and I can click on this to see that particular paper if I want to see that particular paper. So please pardon my internet speed because I'm on mobile mobile hotspot. But anyway, so
No problem.
so coming back to this, yeah. So coming back to this paper, so this is kind of like something that's I would say is unique, because this is a feature that I personally haven't yet seen anywhere. And this is extremely useful for me as a researcher, because I'm reading so much and there's so much out there, and so much of my paper are still to be read. And this is another interesting thing. You can use this feature sort of like even to understand what should be the next papers to read. Like, let's say that this is one section, and I select this particular section, and I click on related content. And now what I can see that, oh my God, this is one paper that I've not yet read, and I can pin this, and I can add a remark saying to be read. So I now know that this is one paper which I should be reading next, because this is the next paper in my entire list of maybe 200 papers. But then this is the paper that I should be reading next, because this is related to what I am more interested in right now, which is actually this section, the content of this section. And this is how you can prioritize your to-do list, even though your to-do list may grow up like anything. And this is how you can speed up also your way of moving through one paper to the other paper, and how you can recollect or connect one paper to the all the other papers that you have in your entire literature list. So, and this is these are all the AI stuffs that and this is where the the RAX AI is working in the background.
Mm.
So so this is one aspect. Now, while you are working on this, on a particular paper, you might want to have a very structured way of keeping notes, and that's where literature review is coming into the picture. So what you can do is you can actually say that, okay, all right, so as I'm reading this paper, I actually have something called critique. So for every paper that I'm reading, RAX also has something called critique, where RAX gives you by default some questions, some critique questions, and to help you make sure that you are able to answer all these important questions when you're reading a particular paper. And what happens is that instead of making notes and instead of making notes on the paper, which anyways you can do, uh, um, which anyways you can do on the paper, on the PDF itself, like something like something like this. You can put your notes uh, just like any other PDF. But what I would recommend is that in the critique template, you can put your notes under the right research
Mm.
questions. So then what happens is that, A, you don't tend to forget. And because this happens with me also, like I keep scribbling notes on my paper. And then later on, when I come back to the paper, I look into my notes and I was like, hell, why did I even scribble this? And because it happened to me a lot of times, I started thinking about how do I tackle this. And that's how I came with this idea that what if I can actually create a template, like a scaffold for students to actually have all these questions which are already there, and your supervisor can modify these questions and you can reuse
Mm.
this template, or you can also modify these questions together with your lab mates and reuse this template specifically to what kind of paper you are, or what kind of research problem you're working on. And then what happens is, since everything, as I told you before, can be done as a team, you can share this with your supervisor and your lab mates. So you can click on this particular share icon, as you can see. You can share it, and you can share it with your supervisors. And once they accept it, then what happens is that, um, so now, let's say that I am the supervisor, so I can see the notes and I can start doing a commenting, just like I will show you one such example, which I am doing with my research student. And as you can see, I can start doing a comment or a thread, even remotely with my supervisor or with my teammates on a research paper, uh, without we always have to be doing this face to face. So in other words, what we can do is we can actually create a study circle around research papers in a virtual environment, just like
Yeah.
how you would do a journal club,
Yeah.
right? So this is another amazing thing. And while I'm reading your paper or while I'm commenting on your critique, I can also search things myself. Like your supervisor can search things and then comment and then recommend that to you, back to you, by saying that, like, like sharing with email, or copy the URL and sharing that with you, so that, like, hey, read this thing or read that thing, this is more important, and so on. And you get that as a notification, and then you can add it and you can start reading it. So that's
Yeah.
another interesting thing that you can do. So that's one thing. The other
S-
thing is that,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, Suresh. Sorry, can I just add that I think that's the best feature for now. I haven't seen the rest, because what happened is we can actually have a working draft together with the supervisor,
Right, right,
right? So, and
right.
working together virtually. Wow, a lot of people
and
need to use
and
this.
And what happens is that when you are doing this literature review for each and every paper, you will come up with your new ideas, with your own ideas. And for that, what we have is we have something like drafts. That's your working notes, right? So when you have your drafts, immediately you can switch on to the drafts from, like over here, you can switch on to the drafts from your reading list. And as you can switch on to the draft, you open the drafts, and you can open multiple such drafts. So you can open all the different drafts that you have, right, as a tab. And then again, you can share this with your supervisor, and then start a discussion thread, right? So that's the interesting thing. And while you're working on your draft, again, you can select certain sections of what you're working on, and again, you can look for research papers which are related to that section, or you can look for other kind of resources which are related to that section. So, and again, you can start attaching it. So every draft is now going to have their own attachments which you are attaching with that particular draft. So a draft can mean your working notes. It can mean the research goals or the research questions. It can also mean the experimental design that you're doing. It can be the to-do list. It can be the minutes of the meeting. It can be anything. It can be the data sets that you're maintaining. It can be anything, right? So that's another thing. And one more thing that I wanted to tell you is that for those people who are more used to LaTeX and equation writing, so we have a latest integration with this editor as well. So you can actually mix up both text and LaTeX together while writing your drafts. And something else that I wanted to discuss about is that is the suggestions. So you can actually almost ask racks that, hey, show me those papers now which are related to what I'm currently doing. And what I'm currently doing can be what I'm currently highlighting, where I'm taking my notes, what kind of discussion is going on, which part of the papers I am more interested in, just like the way I showed you, like which parts of the paper, I actually did something in this section of the paper, right? So it will actually observe that, okay, so Sourish is interested in this section of the paper, and not just that, Sourish very recently attached these sort of stuffs. So, and based on that, it will start suggesting me with more papers which are related to my now, which are related to my current focus, right? So that's another unique aspect of RAG. So it's not just showing you papers which are related to all the papers that are in a folder. It only shows you papers which are related to what you're currently focusing on, right? And then another aspect. Am I audible?
Yes, no.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we're still okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. So another aspect is repository. So repository is a place where you keep all the other kind of materials, like it can be your code links, it can be your data set, it can be your experimental images, it can be your all sorts of spreadsheets that you're maintaining. It can be other, it can be presentations, PowerPoint presentations that you're always building up. So, it's a very good way of putting all your other kind of stuffs together into the same context, which means and the context is your research project. And also to give a proper tag, because the tag will help you to understand what kind of link that is, and so that you can quickly get back to that link whenever is required. So that's the reason why repositories are there. And apart from that, you can manage your collaborators from here. If you're the admin, and if you have a certain kind of rights, then you can also see files of other people. Even if the files are private, still you can see at least the metadata. And if you think that, no, I want this data, I want this file, I want this draft, then you can actually request access, so that the person who is working with you, who is working privately, can actually give that data to you. So in some sense, you don't clutter up your page, so you will only see things which you want to see. But at the same time, you also have control of all the other people who are your collaborators. And if you want, you can see what they are doing at a metadata level. And if you want to see the whole thing, you can request access. So that's another interesting thing that we did, which is not there in many other sharing platforms. So that's one thing. The final thing that I want to kind of like show you is the feed page. So that's like the project page. You have the discover page, and within the discover page, you come to this page. Now, the interesting part of this page is that you can actually, so by default, what it does is that it looks into your research interest and it keeps on giving you feeds which are related to your research interest. So it will give you research papers related to your research interest. It will give you blogs which are related to your research interest. It will give you courses, online courses, and it will also give you news which are related to your research interest. And what it also does is that it also does something very interesting, which is that it can do something like idea search, which means it can pick up an entire paragraph or a big section chunk, or you can write your own idea and you can actually ask RAS, hey, show me those papers which are related to this idea. So then what happens is that it can actually bring all the papers which are related to an idea as a whole. Now, this is something that you don't do, which is not really possible in a platform like Google Scholar or in a platform like other kind of discovery platforms, because over there you are more interested in picking up keywords and trying to get papers which are more related to keywords, which has its own case and which is useful. But sometimes we would want to also do idea searching. That's what I mean by idea searching. And this is something that you can see that now these are all the different papers which have very related idea to the idea that you just searched through. So that's another interesting thing that we do. And one thing that I want to emphasize more is that the entire RACS works more in the sense of it tries to understand the meaning of the sentences rather than looking at the keywords. Okay, so anything and everything that you saw so far is always trying to understand deep at a meaning level, at an argumentative level, at a discourse level, what exactly is the narrative? What exactly is going on in this sentence or in this paragraph? And that's how it tries to fetch things, right? So finally, just want to show you something that we are coming up very, very, very quickly. We are going to release soon. Is that so whenever you're uploading papers over here in a literature, RACS is also going to generate a very short summary of that paper, which will also help you to narrow down and make sure which of those papers you actually want to read immediately. So it will quickly give you a summary, and the summary is very interesting. It's kind of very, very different than many other kind of summaries that you would see, in the sense that it actually picks up the summary in terms of what exactly is the research goal or formulation, what is the originality of the paper, methodology, but then it also looks into the evaluation setup and goal, the data usage, and other kind of specific aspects of the paper that will help you to quickly decide whether you would really want to read this paper or not, right? Or to what extent you would want to read this paper. So that's one thing that we are coming up with. And then we are coming up with another thing, which is an extended version of this summary, where we will also tell you what are the assumptions that has been taken by this paper, what are the key insights of this paper in terms of whether there is some speculations made by the author, what comparisons the authors have made, what kind of techniques the authors have adapted or used, what are the research scope for you as a reader, like where all there are other scopes where you can actually it will also give you that, like there are open-ended questions which you can think of, to and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the interesting thing that we are currently doing. So stay tuned to that.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else you want to add, Suresh? Because there are a
No,
lot of questions, a lot of questions. So
yeah,
can
sure.
I?
I will
Yeah.
now.
So,
Yeah, let's take the
all right.
questions.
Okay, so can I remove your screen so that I can put the questions down below, right? So
Right.
wow, thank you so much. You know,
Thank you.
I started using Rex, and I noticed that I get more papers related to the area that I'm investigating. My area is actually I am investigating social media.
Okay.
The use of social media among postgraduates, which because of
Okay.
DSG. So I noticed that I get more interesting papers coming my way, and there's no way I can do that on my own manually. Oops, or manually. There's
Right.
no way I can do that, right?
Right.
Because
And the idea is
yeah.
that the more you use racks, the more it will get to understand you, then the better it will perform.
Right. So no wonder. Right. So I'm just going to put this up. I think this is the link given by Kito. So for those of you who are in the chat, in the webinar, so you need to get the free trial of Rex, and then simply go to this link. Also, this link will be given in DSG later on. Yeah, so that you can start trying and start using. So I'm just going to go to the first question that I found just now. How long is the free trial? And does it have an extension in Word and Google Doc? I don't think it works as an extension, right, Suresh?
Okay.
Yeah.
The free trial, to answer the first question, the free trial is for 45 days.
Mm.
Google extension, we are working on it. So interesting thing, we are Google extension, Google Docs, and we are
Okay.
also working on Microsoft Word
Okay.
as well, so for
All right.
extension.
Okay.
Right.
But I believe that Rex has the longest free trial, which is 45 days. Am I correct? 45
I don't
days.
know. I don't know whether it is longest, but yeah, it has 45 days.
Okay. So that gives us time, to explore and to
Yeah,
start using. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But
So
I also want to let you know that we have a web importer, like a web clipper, where you can bring other things inside racks, like web pages or other kind of stuffs from Google Scholar, and you can bring it inside racks.
okay.
So we have a Chrome web plugin. So
Okay, Chrome
quickly,
plugin. Right.
yeah,
Okay. And all this information I think are available in the website as well. Yeah,
right,
because
right,
I think it's
right.
self-explanatory. I mean, we can go to FAQ section and we can get all this, but for the purpose of this, so Easian is asking, is this the easiest way finding research gap? I believe research gap is what
Right.
many students are concerned about,
Right.
right? So
Okay.
yeah.
So to find the research gap, the first thing you have to do is you have to very quickly get to the point where you can compare and contrast. Because the moment you compare and contrast, and then only you can actually see the research gaps. So what we did with the related content feature was to make sure that you very quickly, you don't have to like just few milliseconds, and you actually get the portions where you can clearly see that, okay, these are the portions that I will need to focus and compare and contrast. And that's how you actually get to the research gaps. The other things that we are going to do in the more advanced features is that we are going to also make sure that we take you to that place where you can actually find the research gap, and that's what I was telling you in our upcoming features, where it will tell you where the possible research opportunity is for you.
Okay, so the next one asks
With
about,
the,
I believe this is about the citation. Can we determine the format of citation like APA or MLA? And can we generate the reference list based on the literature list?
Well,
So,
this is also something that we have. See, the thing is that we never focused on these things because we are
yeah,
not a reference manager. But
exactly.
this is something
Exactly.
that will come up. Definitely, this is something that will
Okay.
come up. So you can actually choose your format, and you can actually, link it with your draft or in a particular style, whichever you
Mm,
want. Yeah.
okay, so the next one is it the easiest way to find snowball article? I mean, when you read one paper and then you go to the next reference. I think that's what you showed just
Yeah,
now,
yeah, that's
right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
right on the fly. You're actually
Yeah.
doing things on the fly.
Exactly. And then can we get access to the log page journal article or only the references and not the PDF?
So
I
we
believe.
try. So we try our best to make sure that if it is available anywhere in a legitimate way, if the
Mm,
PDF is available. So if you look at the link on the PDF, will try to make sure that you get to that place. If it is not legitimately available, we don't do that. So
Yeah,
even if you,
of
so
course.
we don't do
Yeah.
that, right?
Okay. Okay. So the next one asks about, are you guys planning on developing a downloadable version? Because I do not like to work within my browser. I would not risk my progress in case I lose my internet connection. Saying that, do you have, or I
Right.
believe everything is online right now, right? Everything
Right.
is on.
Right now
Mm,
it's completely SaaS, but again, this is again in our roadmap. So something
mm,
like Dropbox sort of a thing where you can actually sync with your,
mm,
what you have in your laptop with what you have on the internet.
mm,
So
mm.
yeah.
Okay. So next one asks about, can Rex track research keywords of related topics? Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
this is, yeah. So
it
is that,
can, because what's really going on is inherently it is actually doing so, because it's monitoring what sections you are actually highlighting, where you are taking down your notes, and so on. So it actually
mm,
captures that concept level, and it
mm,
tries to figure out, okay, so these are the concepts that you're more interested in right now, and it's also
mm,
trying to look into related concepts which are related to those concepts, not just those concepts, but concepts which are related to
right.
those as well.
Deeper level, yeah? Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it's not just keyword. Right. So this one asks about, I have hundreds of papers saved in Mendeley, which I have not read. So how do I marry Mendeley and Rex together? Or is it possible?
Yes, it's
So,
possible to bring the references. Right now, we don't have the technology or the support to bring the PDFs, but you can bring the entire list, and then we will give you the link where you can find the PDF. So you can keep adding the PDF. You don't really need to add the PDF all at one time, because you're not going to read everything at one time. So whenever you're
mm,
reading a particular paper, you can link up the PDF, and you can keep doing that. But
okay.
you can bring that entire reference list from Mendeley to Rax.
Right. Okay. And yeah, the manual for Rex, I believe I got one from the
It's on
website.
the it's on the
Yeah.
website, user
It's on
guide.
the website. So if you go there and then try out, okay. And the next question: to collaborate with other people, do they have to get this app too, or is it just suffice if I only have the? I believe everybody,
Uh,
right?
uh, when you are sending an invite, an email will
Mm,
go to them, and
mm.
they just have to sign up.
Yeah, sign up. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So I think this is longer. We don't provide. Oh, I think this is the answer. Yeah, this is the answer to. I think
Mm-hmm.
Kitul is answering. Right. So that's the guide. Yeah, that's the manual given the Rexter Rights Guide PDF. I'm sure you can go to the website. Okay. If I can just go, need to have account. So collaborators need to have account in Rex. Yeah, in order for you to work efficiently.
Right.
Can I view it in YouTube? Yes, this recording will be available in
Yeah.
YouTube. But
Yeah.
if you are a member of doctorate support group, so this recording will stay there. So that's why we are having this in DSG, so that it will replay again and again, and it will be there. Yeah, so that's right.
Right.
Um, as I missed the earlier speech, can I have a download? Yeah, no worries, because we will provide you the total recording, and also you can come here. Is that okay? Here, let me go here. Is there a limit to the number of PDF we can upload into Rex? Is there? Yeah.
No, there is no real. So there is a limit to the total, depending upon the plan that you're taking. So there is a limit
Mm,
to the total size, but it's
mm,
sufficient enough actually, even for the solo version. Uh,
mm.
and per paper, you have a maximum of 20 MB, but 20 MB is good enough. I mean, it's big
Yeah.
enough per file per paper
Okay.
for most papers.
Okay, so one comment here looks so interesting. So you have to start using it, I believe. Yeah, once you start using it, and then you understand the feature. And I believe actually, Suresh, what we have to do maybe later, a bit later, we actually have to show them how do you start doing, the search. How the actual using of Rex. Maybe
Right.
just a bit more time, right? So we will set this
Mhm.
up, because I believe everybody wants to know how this work. Yeah. Okay. Interesting here. What is it that Rex cannot do? It seems that it can do
Okay.
everything. So
No, no, no.
what is
It
it that
cannot.
Rex cannot
There's a
do?
long way to go.
Yeah.
So it's long, long, long way to get. So the ultimate goal is actually to make a Jarvis for the researcher, for people like you. So
I
to
like
make
that.
it like a Jarvis, it's a long way to go. Yeah,
Mm.
there's still a lot of things to be done.
Yeah, I like the analogy of Iron Man. I think, yeah,
Yeah,
everybody aspires to have a Jarvis of their own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one I believe added by Kitul, I think. So add research easily. We can have a web importer extension for Chrome, yeah, and I have it here, and yeah, it is really helpful, you know. So because it comes right. Another question: is this summary document automatically generated, or is it a compilation of our notes we
No,
created while reading?
it will be automatically generated
Yeah,
within
yeah.
within a second, sort of. So, but it's coming. It's not yet there. It's coming
Mm.
up. It's coming up.
Right. Okay. So I'm just gonna answer this because simply because I know Atlas
Yeah,
TI.
yeah.
Atlas TI is actually the it's a qualitative data manager where actually if we have a word or documents that you can process, but with Atlas TI it is actually manual coding. So you have to do it manually. You have to read, you have to highlight, and you have to code. But with Rex, it's a different process altogether. So I would say that it's different, yeah, and you have to start using it in order to know. Okay, can we go here next? Right. So what is this? The summary document is okay. So that's the answer, I believe. And to get the link, yeah. So this is the end of the comment. To get the free trial of Rex tool, please use this link to sign up, and we will put this link again in our doctorate support group. Wow, I think Suresh, a lot of people are now curious and
And
start, you know,
yeah,
wanting
I
to
thought so.
use. Yeah, I hope so. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this today with
My
me. Yeah,
pleasure.
because until we have a person who passionately created the tool, explaining to us, then only we can understand. And it's always that case when you see, you know, the light in your eyes explaining how it works. We know that this is your life work, your passion about this. Yeah, is that
Yeah,
so?
I went through the same problems.
Exactly, exactly. So, oh, I missed one question here. Can I put it up? Is there any feature that collaborators can make screenings of literature to be included into the systematic review with display of agree or disagree, which has been shown by another software? Right. So, is there any way? Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah.
I know what systematic review is, but I think what you can do is that you can upload the systematic review and you can actually share it with your collaborators, and then you can actually disagree or agree
Mm,
or do a discussion like a debate
yeah.
online. So you can always do that.
Right.
Like
Okay.
right now we don't have a integration as such with the systematic review app.
Okay. But I'm sure it will be, you know,
Yeah.
as time goes by, it will be, yeah, the development.
Yes.
So I think this is one of our, you know, last thing that we want to do. So because the team is looking for feedback from the research community, we would like you to fill the form. I will put this link again, yeah, after the webinar, so that all of us can feedback, you know, tell us what you like about Rex, what you
Right.
want other features to be, right? So it'll be very good. Thank you so much, Suresh.
Thank you.
I wish
Thank
we
you.
have more time,
Thank you.
but this is good.
Thank
And
you.
I really, really hope that we can actually have more work together like this virtually. Yeah, although you're so far away from Malaysia, but you know we can bring you in to the SG. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I will be very, very happy to do that. Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
so I'm
Bye.
gonna end. I'm gonna end today's session with thank you, Marcus, for telling us it's a lovely presentation. So I'm sure you will get connected to the team and start using RAG very soon. Yeah. So okay, then everyone, we're gonna end the session. Any problem, you just come to DSG, and you can ask question here. So thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Kitul, for a very informative session. Thank you, Mark, for being here as well. So I'll see you soon, maybe. Yeah, another time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Bye
bye,
bye.
Suresh.
Bye bye.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.